to the I-24 News Desk. As promised before the break, last night, 47,000 Israelis gathered in Tel Aviv's Park Hayarkon for a Radiohead concert. Not just a concert, but the band's longest concert in 11 years. It's also the first time in 17 years that Radiohead performed in Israel in defiance of calls by Boycott Israel activists to cancel the show. I-24 News Culture correspondents Daniel Campos and Maya Margit were there.
It was likely to be the most politicized concert of the year in Israel. BDS activist Roger Waters worked extra hours to convince Radiohead to cancel the show, and so did British director Ken Loach. Mocked, harassed, and threatened by BDS activists, Radiohead instead turned up the volume. Thom Yorke, the frontman of the apolitical British rock band from Oxford, made it clear on his Twitter account last week that playing for the people is not the same as endorsing the government. In front of an audience of approximately 47,000 fans, Radiohead delighted with a special set list from different albums. During the concert, Yorke walked down memory lane before performing Creep.
In 1993 we came here. Someone called the Roxanne. Didn't we, Johnny?
Israel is likely to be the first country in the world where the song topped the charts. And it was during this visit in 1993 that Radiohead guitarist Johnny Greenwood met his future Israeli wife, Sharona, who he married 2 years later. There was no presence of flags in the audience, no banners, nor any traces of Radiohead's clash with the BDS. The only reminder of the dispute was Thom Yorke's final statement before performing the final song.
A lot of stuff was said about this, but in the end, we played some music.
And our culture correspondent Maya Margit joins me now in studio. Maya, you were at the concert last night. I wasn't there. I was here doing this, so I'm very jealous. Oh, no. And I'm even more jealous having read the reviews this morning. They were all fantastic.
Yes, it was.
So you agree?
I totally agree. I think the set felt very special, this concert. You know, they really put all their soul and heart into this concert. You could tell, and it was the longest set they've had in 11 years. And I think part of the reason is that they kind of grew up here in Israel. They had some of their earliest beginnings and their biggest fans here in the early 1990s when they were kind of flopping all over the world. But with their hit single Creep, which didn't do so well abroad at first, it did really well here in Israel because one DJ, Yoav Kutner, would play it non-stop over and over again until other people started playing it, and then radio stations here started playing it, and eventually radio stations in the US started playing it, which is kind of rare, you know, that an Israeli radio station would influence American radio stations, but that's what happened. So they really poured their heart and soul into this. We had new songs, we had old songs, lots of crowd-pleasing songs, of course, and people were really enjoying it. It was 2.5 hours long. 47,000 people there.
So you did feel like they have a soft spot in their hearts for Israel. But of course it came in this really weird and difficult context with so many people, including Roger Waters, calling for Radiohead to cancel the performance. Did they address this issue in any way last night?
So Tom York was kind of strange because he didn't talk very much at all during the concert. He maybe said one word. He said Yalla. He referenced some of the early songs that were popular in Israel, maybe towards the end of the concert. Before the last song, which was Karma Police, this was after the second encore already. They went on and on and on. Before that song, he said what we saw in this report, which is, a lot of stuff was said about this, but in the end we played some music, which was a kind of a subtle jab, I think, at Roger Waters and the BDS, because Radiohead has been outspoken about their opposition to the boycott, that they don't agree with it. Johnny Greenwood, the guitarist of Radiohead, is married to an Israeli, Sharona Katan, and they have 3 children together, so they have a lot of deep connections to this country, and the fans were really, really enjoying the whole thing, I think.
Well, I believe you enjoyed it, Maya. I can see it on you, and I'm even more jealous now. I wanted to ask you one bad thing about the concert, but apparently there was none. Maya Margit, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I'm glad you're here with me today to talk about it. Thank you.
Sure.